I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. A new report that just came out from the Wall Street Journal says that Donald Trump's lawyers, the lawyers who remain as part of his legal team who haven't yet resigned or were conflicted out based on the fact that they are witnesses, are bracing for criminal indictments by Special Counsel Jack Smith relating to Donald Trump's theft of thousands of government records, and they believe that these indictments may be imminent. They also talk about in this article how they are preparing their fundraisers to try to fundraise off the indictments, which just goes to show you how lawless and deranged these people are. What lawyer would be thinking about fundraising? Well, a lawyer who is part of MAGA, Make Attorneys Get Attorneys. Now, there are 5 major developments that I see which supports this thesis by the Wall Street Journal that Special Counsel Jack Smith is wrapping up a Trump Mar-a-Lago probe, and that several sources told the Wall Street Journal that Trump is bracing for an indictment and that close associates are bracing for an indictment. And the first was news that we talked about here on the MeidasTouch Network, how the National Archives informed Donald Trump they were turning over records to Special Counsel Jack Smith, which showed that Donald Trump's lawyers informed him about a declassification process for the various records and that Trump was aware that he couldn't telepathically declassify records. That's number one. Number two, Donald Trump's lawyer, Tim Parlatore, resigned. Tim Parlatore was Donald Trump's lead lawyer in connection with Special Counsel Jack Smith's ongoing criminal investigation into Donald Trump's theft of these government records. And I'll say this, Tim Parlatore is actually probably the only good lawyer left on Donald Trump's legal team. Now, Parlatore's defense was utterly BS, but nonetheless, Parlatore was at least trying to negate the intent element of the various crimes Special Counsel Jack Smith is investigating. And Tim Parlatore basically said that Donald Trump's other lawyer, the lawyer who remains, Boris Epshteyn, is a complete liar, that Epstein was essentially obstructing justice by telling Parlatore not to conduct searches that were required by Special Counsel Jack Smith and by subpoena in Bedminster and other areas. Here, let me just play for you what Tim Parlatore said in his own words, where he calls Donald Trump's other lawyer dishonest and where he says that Donald Trump's other lawyer essentially obstructed justice. Here, play this clip.
Infighting is certainly nothing new in Trump world. Is there any specific instance of something that he did to, as you say, prevent you from being able to properly represent your client?
Oh, sure. I mean, he served as kind of a filter to prevent us from getting information to the client and getting information from the client. In my opinion, he was not very honest with us or with the client on certain things. There were certain things like the searches that he had attempted to interfere with. And then more recently, as we're coming down to the end of this investigation where Jack Smith and ultimately Merrick Garland is going to make a decision as to what to do, as we put together our defense strategy to help educate Merrick Garland as to how best to handle this matter, he was preventing us from engaging in that strategy.
You said that Boris tried to prevent you from conducting searches. What searches are those?
This is the searches at Bedminster initially. There was a lot of pushback from him where he didn't want us doing the search, and we had to eventually overcome him.
Why didn't he want you doing the search?
I don't know. Boris is, he is a lawyer. He spent about 18 months at a big firm doing transactional work, and I think he just thinks based on the experience he knows better than all of us.
Okay, so that's the second data point right there. The third data point is that the calamari father and son duo. Matthew Calamari Sr., COO, Matthew Calamari Jr., his son. They're both involved in the security of the various Trump properties. Matthew Calamari is the COO. His son, Matthew Calamari Jr., is the head of security. And they went before the grand jury, to discuss what was going on with the surveillance footage. There are gaps in the Mar-a-Lago surveillance footage, and they had to testify before the grand jury about why are there gaps and what happens at the property and how are these security tapes held and where are they held. There was another report, number 4, on that subpoenas were sent by Special Counsel Jack Smith about potential foreign influence and Donald Trump's involvement utilizing the Trump organization with foreign governments and how that is connected to Donald Trump's theft of these government records. And we've learned that Special Counsel Jack Smith subpoenaed Trump organization for documents related to real estate deals in China, France, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, and Oman since he took office in 2017 to the present. And that includes Donald Trump's dealings with Saudi Arabia through the Live Golf Tournament, which is funded by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which also gave $2 billion to Jared Kushner, and the potential relationships that exist between these transactions and Donald Trump's theft of government records. And then finally, we've learned about the results of Special Counsel Jack Smith's fight with Donald Trump and Trump's lawyer, Evan Corcoran, to get Evan Corcoran's notes. And we learned that Trump's lawyer, Evan Corcoran, took over 50 pages of very detailed notes regarding his efforts in response to the Department of Justice and FBI subpoena to get the classified records that Donald Trump stole and was obstructing justice by keeping these documents and lying about these documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Whether you're looking to hear about the latest on the rising tensions in Ukraine from top officials or about the U.S.'s diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Olympics, Crooked Media's Pod Save the World is your cheat sheet for global events. Each week, co-hosts Tommy Vitor and Ben Rhodes break down the biggest stories from around the world and introduce you to the activists, politicians, and journalists on the front lines. Count on hearing stories from the White House Situation Room, funny anecdotes, and maybe a few F-bombs along the way. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Find the Pod Save the World YouTube channel for the show and lots of bonus content.
Evan Corcoran's notes, apparently, according to reports by The Guardian and others, very detailed, so detailed that he even wrote about Donald Trump's facial expressions. And what we've learned from these notes as well is the importance of this individual by the name of Walt Nauta. Walt Nauta was a personal aide of Donald Trump when Trump was in office, who then worked with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Walt Nauta was basically the keeper of the storage facility where these classified records were kept, among other places. And the implication from a lot of this reporting is that Walt Nauta may have moved boxes from the storage facility at the request of Donald Trump. And again, this is just the speculation from the reporting, but may have moved these boxes. By the way, there's surveillance footage of Walt Nauta moving boxes, so I want to be clear there. But the idea here is that when Evan Corcoran was trying to comply with the Department of Justice subpoena from May of 2022 to get these classified records, Corcoran only found about 40 classified records in the storage facility. So the implication is that when Corcoran wasn't there searching in response to this May 2022 subpoena, was Walt Nauta taking some boxes and classified material out of the storage facility so that Corcoran wasn't able to produce those to the Department of Justice when he met with them on June 3rd of 2022, because when the Department of Justice eventually executed a valid search warrant, when a magistrate judge found probable cause on August 5th of 2022, the search warrant was executed on August 8th of 2022. The FBI found over 100 classified records and thousands of other government records, including folders with classified markings that were empty. All of that was found at Mar-a-Lago. And so the question was why didn't Evan Corcoran find that? Because Evan Corcoran gave an affidavit, an attestation under penalty of perjury to the Department of Justice on June 3rd of 2022, stating that he had done a diligent search. It was actually Christina Bobb who signed it, but they did it together, saying that a diligent search was done. And based on that, here are all of the remaining documents. And clearly a diligent search was not done, or that wasn't all of the documents. So that's another major development. So those are key developments in Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation into Donald Trump's theft of government records. So when you take a look at this Wall Street Journal article, Special Counsel is wrapping up Trump Mar-a-Lago probe. The data is consistent with what the sources say. That consistency is how we can draw the conclusion that indictments appear to be imminent. Now, imminent in my mind, unfortunately, in legal speak, is not in the next few weeks. I think it will happen this summer, or by the end of the summer, probably around August or September. It is possible it happens before then. But here, let's take a look at what the Wall Street Journal wrote. Special Counsel Jack Smith has all but finished obtaining testimony and other evidence in his criminal investigation into whether former President Donald Trump mishandled classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort, according to people familiar with the matter. Some of Trump's close associates are bracing for his indictment and anticipating being able to fundraise off a prosecution, people in the former president's circle said, as clashes within Trump's legal team have led to the departure of a key lawyer. That's referring to Tim Parlatore. In recent weeks, prosecutors working for Smith have completed interviews with nearly every employee at Trump's Florida home, from top political aides to maids and maintenance staff, the people said. Prosecutors have pressed witnesses, some in multiple rounds of testimony, on questions that appeared to home in on specific elements Smith's team would need to show to prove a crime, including those that speak to Trump's intentions and questions aimed at undermining potential defenses Trump could raise, they said. So big news there. And again, the fact that you have Wall Street Journal, a right-leaning paper there, who probably has some pretty decent sources within Trump world reporting this, consistent with what the data is reflecting. And then another data point, of course, is Donald Trump's unhinged posts, one where he's talking about Joe Biden refuses to return the boxes that were discovered in Chinatown. Donald Trump just makes up all these completely deranged conspiracies. And I guess I have one more data point for you. The fact that there have been so many Republican contenders who have announced their intention to run in the Republican primary this past week, or say they will be running. To me, they believe that the Special Counsel Jack Smith investigation may ultimately bring Donald Trump down. Of course it should. Of course, Donald Trump being held liable by a Manhattan jury for engaging in the most heinous conduct to E. Jean Carroll should be disqualified. But the modern day MAGA Republican Party is sadly a lawless party. So it likely will have no impact in what the modern day MAGA Republicans do, although I think people who used to identify as Republican, people who are actually conservative and not this MAGA Republican version of idiocracy meets fascism, I think real people who look at these facts are disgusted, as we are here collectively on the MeidasTouch network. But today's modern day Republican Party is just so different, and it's upsetting. I want there to be thriving debate amongst intelligent political parties, but with the state of the modern day MAGA Republican Party, that just isn't so. We'll keep fighting for truth and our democracy here on the MeidasTouch network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, and wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. It is free. Thank you so much for watching, and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. It is free. Have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.